interview number 2 for the YouTube channel. Thank you so much to everyone who watched the previous interview with Mike Webb. We're staying with the Eastern Cape theme. In fact, we're staying with the best part of the Eastern Cape theme. That's King Williamstown, Queenstown, and of course, East London, which was home for over 10 years for me. And one of the gentlemen who made me feel very at home is Dean Venish joining us. Hello, Dino.
How's it, Gordy? How are you?
It is so good to be talking to you. I'm well, thanks. And it's so good to be talking to you. Since I've left East London, you've been my link to stay in touch with what's going on in East London, because you share so many great things on socials. But Dean, a lot of people that are going to watch this would know you because you have such a presence, because you're out there taking photographs, or you're going for a run, or you just get behind anything that happens in your city. You get behind it and you give it all your support. So a lot of people watching this are going to know you. But for those that don't, let's rewind to a younger Dean Venish. Where were you born? Where did you go to school?
All right, Gordy. I was born in Port Elizabeth, now Quebec, I think it's called. And I never went to school there. We actually, my parents moved quite early in my life to East London. And I sort of grew up early life in a township.
Oh, wow.
Which is now called Willow Park, Buffalo Township. And I started my schooling at Crew Primary. So, yeah, then we moved to Morningside. And
but
separated, and then
but an Eastern Cape boy through and through.
Oh yes, born and bred. I was born in PE, but lived all my life here in PE. In East London, yeah. So yeah.
And Dean, not a lot of people know this about you unless they follow you closely. Most people think you're a professional photographer full time. You are a professional photographer, but you do have another job. Tell us about that job.
I do, Gordy. As a very young guy, I grew up with dogs, and specifically German Shepherds and Rottweilers. And it was about 1985 in Standard 9. I got a pamphlet with the SA police force. Then it was called a force, now a service. And it was this picture of a guy with a dog handler. And there I wanted to be a police dog handler. So, yeah, I've been a dog handler all my life.
And how many years have you been with the police service?
I'll be 35 years in December this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
A long time.
A special relationship between the handler and the dog, yes?
Yes, yeah. You try and keep it as a sort of a partner type of a relationship, but it becomes more than that. It becomes more than a pet as well. Unfortunately, at times.
Have you ever had have you ever had to retire a dog, or have you ever lost a dog? As in they passed away?
Yes, I've had quite a few that I've outlived. Unfortunately, the German Shepherd breed gets the hip dysplasia, the hip problems.
Yes,
and then unfortunately you have to go visit the vet and
say goodbye.
Down,
Yeah.
Yes.
Heartbreaking.
Yes.
So, Dean, if people follow you on social networks, they'll notice that you take a lot of really awesome photographs, mostly around running. You have done a couple of triathlons, but mostly around running. How did you get into photography?
I was always into videography, video work, and playing around with cameras and that. And a friend of mine, a guy called Dave McGregor, invited me out one day to the motocross track and said, come take pictures of motorbikes. And that's actually where I started with the photography of sports, and did the motocross and the enduro riding in the bush. Quite a dangerous sport to photograph. It's been quite close there. And then I just transitioned. I realized the motorsport's very expensive and very isolated, And then I just got into the running of things,
And I mean, you talk about expensive. Being a professional photographer is not cheap either. I mean, your equipment costs a ton of money.
Yeah, it's people think with the digital cameras when they came out that you could shoot and shoot and shoot. They've also got a lifespan. There's working parts, and suddenly they'll just stop one day, and that's it. And you got to keep sort of every 2 years. You got to keep updating.
Now, one of the things about photographers that always gets me is that you guys should all have like shoulders like Arnold Schwarzenegger and biceps, like Arnold as well. Because every time I see photographers, they usually got 2 or 3 cameras plus a bag and a whole bunch of other stuff. You look like a Sherpa. It's difficult to be mobile when you're a professional because you've got all the extra lenses and batteries and memory cards and all the other goodies.
Yeah. Look, excuse me, my fitness levels aren't what they should be.
Mine either.
If you take, the knees give in a bit, and photography, especially sports photography, you need to get as low as possible. That is the best angle. And sometimes the going down is easy, but it's the getting up. It's not easy.
Yeah. A good point. You talk about sports photography, but I suppose any photography. What makes a good photograph according to Dean Venish?
Luck.
Luck. I've heard that before. Someone said that to me before. Luck. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if it's going to be at the right place, right time. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
With rugby, sort of sports, that type of sport, you could sort of plan it.
Yes.
If one team is stronger than the other team, you could sit on the try line of sort of the losing team. And get that diving try and that type of thing.
It's a try. That's the big moment, right? And they cross the line. But in another sport like running, you don't know where those moments are.
Yeah, exactly. When I shot my first Ironman in East London, I was very disappointed when I didn't realize that the year before they had that last sort of mass swimming start. And due to the dangers, or there were safety reasons, they started them in sort of like
waves,
top-rated athletes. No, they were like waves.
Yeah.
So I've never ever got that shot. I've always wanted that shot, standing in the water, sort of knee deep, with this couple of thousand runners running, swimmers coming at you.
Right.
But, that was, I think with Ironman, probably catching that picture of Susie with that injury on the back of her shoulder.
Oh yes.
Off the bike was a front page, shot.
And that was your shot. I mean, what a dramatic moment that was, because not only did she like broke her shoulder, broke her elbow or something, and then still went on to finish the race. But I mean, that was a dramatic shot, and that was front page news, and you took the photo.
Yeah, it was, and we still friends on Instagram friends,
Yeah.
So,
she's actually racing today. Now. Yeah, she's racing today. So let's hope that
you would know.
Let's hope she stays on the bike and that she gets good photographs of winning the race as opposed to the injuries.
Yes, that's right.
Dean, we talk about your photography and photographing the running races. The athletes love you. I've never met another photographer in a mass sport like running, where if you ask any one of those athletes, 1,000, 1,200, 3,000 athletes starting on the start line, do you know Dino? They know you. Why do they love you so much? Why do the athletes love you so much?
I think because I interact with them. I sort of, sometimes I forget to take the pictures and I start clapping and cheering them and handing them water. And then they'll say, but Dino, you didn't take a photograph. I said, I'm sorry, like I get in. And I think also, I do some of the races, I do. So I sort of start with them and I don't finish with them. I don't see them again on the race, but I'm there. I think as a photographer, you got to be in the sport.
Yeah.
You got to be part. I mean, take yourself. You commentate and MC all the Ironmans, but you've actually done the Ironman. You've done the double. I mean, So I think that's why people also respect you. It's I think I hope that's the case.
I'm not sure they do, but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless.
Yeah.
You inspired a jump for the camera, which you refer to as the MJ, which was originally, was it one guy that would do it for you every time you took a photo, and then it became sort of like everybody wanted to try? Yeah,
there's a guy in East London called Makuli Jack. He's a wonderful
phenomenal
guy.
runner.
He's a gentleman. He's really, and he started this when I first got into running. He had these long dreadlocks, and I called him that guy from the Predator,
Yes.
And we still joke about it. And he would just come and do all the runs, and he started jumping. And I thought, what the hell? And I don't know, we just got into this because of Makuli Jack, MJ.
Yeah.
It's called the MJ or the Makuli Jack jump, and then people started doing it.
Do you ask them? Do you ask them to do it, or do they just do it? Do you ask people, hey, give me an MJ, or do they just jump?
No, I don't actually want them to do it because, it is nice for photography. I've had one lady, especially on the downhills, you
Yeah.
tend to, I think when you tie the knees, giving her, and she fell onto her hands.
Oh,
But out of a couple of thousand MJs, that's only been the one incident,
yeah. Yeah.
I
So
tried it the
it's,
1 year coming across a bridge, and then I never did it again.
and it's not a small jump, and I'm going to ask Dino to
Yeah.
send me a picture of an MJ so I can insert it into the video so you can see
Yes, I
what we're
will.
talking about. But it really is it's a high jump, and you think, geez, these oaks are running a half marathon or a marathon, and they still have energy to jump that high. That's just insane. Dino, not only do you photograph runs, but as you say, you actually do some of the runs with the guys as well. How did you get into running? Was that your fiance Mandy's work getting you into running, or how did that work?
Women sort of get men to do things
Yes.
generally. Men don't sort of do things out of their own we might want to lose weight, we might want to get fit, but yeah, Mandy, she just came along, and we actually met, believe it or not, at the Void concert. I think, I must get this date right, 2014.
I remember that
We were
night.
sort of introduced before. We actually met at a night race. So one of Bruce Vion, who's also an excellent photographer, and we met at Noon Noon Beach at one of the night races. And a week later, we went to this concert. And yes, she inspires me to run. Yeah,
Yeah.
she doesn't force me. Let me make that clear.
I'm so glad you mentioned the Avoid concert, because I remember seeing you there that night that Avoid came to East London. It was one of the biggest and best acts to come to East London, and to this day, every time I play a song for you, every time I play an Avoid song on my radio show, I always dedicate it to you because it's like your favorite, right?
Yeah. Takes me back. It's the weather was absolutely terrible. We were standing in ankle deep water, and I've always said to myself, when I see Woodstock pictures in 1969,
Yeah.
I was born in 1969, so people can know my age now. And I always thought to myself, I would love to go to. I'm not a sort of a rocker or anything, but just to be part of history, And Evoy to me was one of those type of concerts,
Yeah,
So
and what a big night, because it was arranged by the late Des Bass. Sadly,
right.
he's no longer with us, and what a great man he was. But what a big night that was! I'll never forget. They made me go on stage and intro them,
I remember.
and but they gave me a god awful drink just before I went on stage. It was a concoction of every bit of alcohol they had backstage. I swear there was some tequila in there. You would have liked it, and then they pushed me on stage and made me say English words, and I thought that's not fair. And I could barely see straight. Yeah, exactly. I can barely see straight. And I think the next morning I was meant to go for a bike ride with the triathlon guys, and that just didn't happen very well, did it?
No,
do you know
never.
what's the most memorable photograph you've taken as a professional photographer? Would it be the Susie Cheatham photo, or is it too hard a question to ask?
You now put me on the spot. I think,
it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yes. Now, there's a couple of MJs. There's a couple of, I think, actually, my son capturing me running the Soul Destroyer and doing MJ on the bridge. I think that will be memorable for me. Yeah, it's. I think capturing also. I can't think of his name now. He won the Comrades 4 times. He comes from Port Alfred. I just can't think of his name now. Capturing him in a race in Tanzania and only realizing the next day who he was.
Right.
I just can't think of his name now.
So I'm going to need a couple of photos from you. I'm going to need an MJ. I'm going to need Dean's MJ, and I'm going to need your picture of Susie Cheatham, if you don't mind. Those are the three that I'm going to need for this video, so people can see what we're talking about. Dino, one of the things that you do very similar to Mike Webb, and I remember I did a Facebook post on this a good 6-7 months ago, where I just said, what, guys like Mike Webb, Dean Venish, you've created this following by doing Facebook Live videos that I'm not entirely sure that was your plan. I think you just wanted to do a Facebook Live video, but it's become so popular now that, I get a notification when you go on, I jump on, and there's a ton of people also watching. And when you don't do a Facebook Live video, we almost get upset. We're like, Dino, what's happening? You're slacking here. I mean, during the lockdown 2020, when it was hard lockdown, you worked for the police service, so you were out and about doing your job, but you would turn the camera on, put it on the stand at the front of your car, and you would show us a drive around East London, so people could see that the outside world still existed. How did that happen? Was it by accident, or were you just like, hey, this is a Facebook Live thing, let's give this a go? Or did you intentionally want to build an audience there?
I think, in the beginning, Gordon, I just wanted to do a Facebook Live video and see, and have people. I'm a people's person. I like people with me. And then when we got into the lockdown, I actually started realizing there are people, thousands of millions of them, locked in their house that cannot have the freedom that I was having
Right.
due to my work.
Right.
You know, and I realized quickly then when people were reacting, although they'd seen the Esplanade 1,000 times, or they'd seen that shop 1,000 times, they were reacting. I realized I can help people
Yes.
sitting in their home on the laptop or the phone, just to feel that as if they're getting out. They're
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, that it's helping them. And the days that I was at home and I wasn't allowed to go outside, your yard becomes very small.
Yes. Yeah. And
You know?
inadvertently, what you did was you also, all those ex-East Londoners living around the world, you gave them a chance to see their hometown again, which is very important to them.
Yeah, well, some people would actually even ask me, Dino, can't you go past my old house? And one of my friends, Andrew Smith in New Zealand, I actually went past his house there in Baysville, which has now become a law firm. And I was very forward, and I went and asked the builders. I said, listen, I explained to him, I'm live on Facebook. I've got this guy in New Zealand, he's watching. Can I take a quick walk through the house? He says, yes, by all means, come through,
Yeah.
So,
That's
that type of
another
thing.
thing about you. You talk about being a people person. I mean, you've taken us everywhere on Facebook Live. You've taken us to Hogsback. You've showed us your holiday home in Hogsback. You took us to the middle of the bush somewhere when you were photographing, I think it was a mountain bike or a trail run, and you were driving a nice sponsored car, and you were trying desperately not to scratch the car. And you've taken us everywhere. But you always, whenever you have your phone on and you're on Facebook Live, you always say to people, I'm on Facebook. You're on Facebook Live right now. And that people don't mind. They're like, sure, it's Dean. Yeah, sure. Let's get on Dean's Facebook Live. So obviously people enjoy what you do.
Yeah, I always tell them, hey, I'm on Facebook Live. I don't sort of show them. I hold the camera away.
Yeah.
I've had one or two people say, sorry, I don't want to be on, and you respect that.
Yeah, of course.
You don't show them, but 99% of people, yeah, sure, and it's a bit embarrassing sometimes that I show people that are at school with me in matric, and I don't recall who they are.
Oh dear. Although I will say this though, you videoed, I think it was your first social gathering. I think you were at one of the running clubs. When all of the restrictions were lifted, one of the running clubs had an evening, and you were there. And just for a moment, I must be honest, I was watching that. I was sitting here in Durban in my house, and I was watching that, and I was like, oh, thank God, life is coming back to normal. And it was your Facebook video that made me feel that way.
Yeah. To the COVID restriction, that some of it I agreed with, but most of it, I couldn't, unfortunately I had to obey it like everybody else. And
Sure.
I was glad that we suddenly realized, hey, it's time to get out there now and, be alive,
Yeah.
It was,
yeah. Well, I must say,
Yeah.
Dino, when I watched that, it just made me feel better about life. So thank you very much, man. You really and you see, this is the thing, you don't realize the impact of what you're doing. The other thing that you do, which I really want to touch on, is you'll visit a coffee shop, like a new coffee shop, and you'll give them a punt. You'll go to a new butcher, you'll give them a punt. You'll go to your favorite grocer, you'll give them a punt. You really get behind East London business by taking social media and turning it into a great way for these businesses to shine.
Yeah, I just feel, I do also complain about bad service or no service or, but I think we can turn that type of a negative thing into a positive thing, and I'm guilty of it as well at times. I mean, I think we all are, but I love going into, I would one day love to turn that into a career where, we can promote these people and get them on the map type of thing,
Yeah.
I love finding new places to go to, and I encourage people. I say, please, if you go somewhere, put it on Facebook, Tansy, one of my friends from Oxford Strider, she went to a place in Vegan Bay about 2 weeks ago, and Manny and I, we actually went from where we were straight there, and beautiful live music, and it was really it was a previous place that I've been to, just been renamed.
Yeah.
And it was lovely, night
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, no, I just love the way you use social media and your presence on social media to promote businesses. And what I like is you also do with a lot of smaller businesses, startup businesses. You go there, you put it on the camera, you go on Facebook Live, and you give them a nice big punt. And ultimately, I do believe that people watch that and then go, "Well, geez, I'm going to try that." I must just tell you though, we're very jealous of you and Mandy because it looks like you guys eat at the nicest restaurants every night of the week. What's happening there?
Yeah, it's basically I use probably some of the photography money that comes in when I they do the photographs, the running and that. But yeah, we don't. Please, I need to emphasize: we do not get free meals.
No,
It
no, I
might
know
sound like
this. I know this. It must be because
oh,
Mandy's very
I wish
rich,
I
right?
could. Hint,
Mandy's
hint.
very rich. That's why. That's why.
Yeah, and the tequila thing. Let me
Yes,
set the
yes.
record straight
How,
now.
how do you run a 10K and then have a tequila in the middle? Like, what's the deal with that? Okay, set the record
You
straight.
know
Dean Venish
the
clarifies tequila.
Yeah, we go. Okay, so here's the honest truth now. Okay, the reason why Manny and I started having tequilas was we quickly realized that the price of tequila was directly related to how expensive our eatery was. So the most expensive tequilas, and I'm going to put it, our late friend Darren, Numbers sold the most expensive tequilas ever.
Really? Oh,
At that
I
time,
never knew that.
2014, 2015, they were about 25 Rand.
A tot.
And
Goodness.
we try and only drink cold tequila. It must be in the freezer or the fridge. It must be cold. We
Yeah,
don't necessarily have to have the lemon and the salt.
yeah,
And now it's just become I don't know. I don't find, I don't like Jaggermaster. I like the smell of it, but I don't like the taste of it.
right, right.
So tequila to me gives you a bit of a shock and then it's gone.
Yeah,
We only have one. We don't, very seldom will we have two.
yeah,
People tend to like to buy us tequila. That's,
yeah.
I must say, if I ever get anything for free, it's tequila.
Yeah, no, it's because you're synonymous with tequila. And the reason why I
Yeah,
can't
it's
remember how much tequila cost at Numbers, because by the point of the evening where I had a tequila, I couldn't remember much. So that's why I didn't know how expensive it was. There's an evil plan
yeah.
there. There's an evil plan there, hey?
The picture I'm actually going to send you with me jumping over that causeway in Abbotsford.
Yeah.
I think it was. I hope I'm going to be right now. Celtic. It was the Celtics or the Tata Lions Club. I can't remember who exactly it was, but they said to me, at the 9K turnaround. So if you've run the Soul, I don't know if you've run the Soul Destroyer.
I no, I haven't.
Um,
I haven't.
okay, so you're sort of climbing up to about the 9K mark, and then it's sort of a 90-degree turn, and you come back down into Dorchester Heights. They said at the 9K mark, we're going to have a tequila waiting for you. I said,
Oy.
no problem. There, it was definitely the Tata Lions or something. They had Gordon, it must be about 5 tequilas in a glass
Oy.
shot. And I was so tired. It was I down that tequila. But I can tell you one thing: my knees weren't sore anymore. My back wasn't sore. It was the best energy drink. I almost said another brand.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
the best. It was the best energy drink, and I ran,
Yes.
and that's why I did the jump. So tequila.
But the question is, when the tequila wore off, how were the knees the next day?
Listen, Gordon, I think I actually took two. My boss, he's actually my friend as well. He's a colonel. We've come since young days in the dog unit. And normally when I do these 21Ks, especially the 21, I take the Monday and the Tuesday off as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I
he
think they
knows
know.
I can't work.
Yeah, I think they know. I
No,
think
it
your
hits me,
boss
man.
knows. If he reads on Facebook that Dino's doing a 21K, it's like, see you Wednesday, Dino.
Yeah, no, fortunately, I've got enough years in my life now in the police that I'll get enough leave during the year.
Wow,
So
35 years in the police service, 35 years working with amazing police dogs, photography and taking some of the most memorable photographs, Facebook social networking, ride and drives. I always call it a ride and drive with Dino. I don't know if you've actually labeled it that there because we feel like we're in the car with you and we're going for a friendly drive around East London. And of course, your lovely lady, Mandy, who I've actually run a couple of races alongside her. And when I was slacking off, she encouraged me and it's like, come, keep running. You are an East London legend, and you are a scholar and a gentleman and a fine judge of tequila. So, Dean Venish, I thank you for your time. Thank you for braving the chat with me. And if you want to follow Dean, I'm going to put his social networks links in the description of this video. So just read the description down below and you'll find the links there. And if you have a message for Dean, pop it in the comment section and I'll be sure to pass it on. Dean Venish, you Quebecer, now East London legend. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you very much. Keep safe.